You're not alone.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Salt Mines X-Wing podcast, a podcast dedicated to the backbone of the X-Wing community. That's right, people just like you doing what they can to get better at the game. And a couple of things, we'll get started and go into the normal bit here and there. Wow, my audio is all over the place today. Alright, sorry, distracted easily. So what we're going to talk about today is, first off, special thanks to Perfect Broken, Ave66, Jacob.Marmoset.s, Tar, Steelwater6942, Raviolo, Fishstick, Jezstick, Johannes Mumade, Airwar, Sai Caneto, Terry's, Catherine Nicera, Trigger Happy Taco, Burning Stick, .exe, and math. So these people have been instrumental in helping me with what we're going to talk about today. And then just as a reminder, if you are not familiar, we do have a Patreon for this podcast, and we are hosting a giveaway that goes along with that. So if we get 5 patrons or more, we'll be doing a small ship giveaway, and that will be monthly. If that number jumps up to 10 patrons or more, we'll be moving up to a large ship, and if we get 15 or more patrons, we'll be doing a squadron pack giveaway. And again, that will be monthly. And for those that aren't aware, I am in the process of designing a special token that you will be able to use in in-person play, and that will be given out to all of our initial patrons. So if you are a patron, thank you very much. I appreciate your support of this podcast, and be looking for something in the mail here. I don't want to say soon, but within the next couple of months. All right. Moving on, you've heard me talk an awful lot on this podcast about Bohan's efficiency model, and we're going to kind of go into a way too early ranking or data point for whether or not we can use Bohan's model for predictive modeling. Sorry, let me pull up this thing now. Here we go. All right, and I will share my screen here in a moment. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about some lists that we came up with initially, and by we I mean I, that were based off of Bohan's modeling of the most efficient ships in a particular faction, based off of his 1.9 model. So I don't know if he has a new one out yet. I know it takes him some time to put this all together, but we're just going to talk about what the lists are and what our early results are pointing towards. Again, these are early results, and there's not going to be enough data to come to a conclusive distinction, I believe, before the points change, unless I suddenly get an influx of people willing to test out these squads. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and go into, here we go. So here you're looking at, I did 2 foe lists, a resistance list, a republic list, and a CIS list that the people I mentioned at the beginning are flying for me. So we'll start off with the first foe list, which is a supernatural Kylo, recoil with Predator, and Scorch with Fanatical. Now if we go into his model and we look at the First Order, we can see that Supernatural Kylo is about 18% under costed, which is quite a big number. We also see that Hate Kylo is significantly undercosted. Scorch is about 10% undercosted, and recoil with Predator is about 8.1% undercosted. So again, putting these all together, I put them into a single list, and I've had people fly them for me, as well as I flew a couple. And you can see by our early results, we can see that this first order list is running about 50% right now in terms of win losses. Now, there's all kinds of stuff that goes into this. This modeling, skill of player, placement, dice variance, all of that stuff. So this isn't really, it's not scientific data, right? This is just data that I've collected to the best of my ability from people willing to help, and we are going to make predictions after we go through all of these different lists. So definitely the most games flown with this particular list, and we can see it's running about 50-50. So we move on to the a second faux list, and we've got another, and all this list looks almost identical with the exception of instead of running recoil with Predator, we're actually running Von Reg with Daredevil, who, if you look into the thing, is also about 7.1% undercosted, according to his model. And what we see here is all kinds of losses and a single win. You'll see one of the notes here is diced. That happens sometimes, but what essentially we're seeing here is, even though you're getting around the same percentage according to the modeling, that you should expect to see similar results, having that 2 less hull, even though you're running 2 less initiative or 2 more initiative, greatly impacts the overall performance of the list. Alright, next we'll move on to resistance, which we are talking about R4 Overdrive Heroic and Foils Poe Dameron, in R4 Heroic Foils Pattern Analyzer 9 Num, and a Timon Wexley with R4 Heroic and Foils. Now, we're only seeing this list fly twice. 3 X-Wings is difficult in the current meta. I think this is a list that people will definitely sleep on if 3 ships come back. I think this list in particular will be particularly deadly, but we're seeing 2 losses for that so far. Then we go into Republic, and now we're seeing our first positive win-loss rate. And so for Republic, we've got Luminara with CLT and Patience, Ahsoka Tano in the Delta 7B, and 2 Delta 7B Jedi Knights. And we can see that this list went 4 and 2, which speaks a little bit to the modeling. But here is the one that I really wanted to talk about, because I think it speaks the most to Bohan's method, and that's CIS. So CIS, we're running Zam Wessel with Treacherous, False Transponder Codes, Count Dooku, and Hull Upgrade, with 3 Proximity Mine Bombardment Drones. And what we're seeing here is in his model, right? We'll go up, and I know I kind of skipped over this on the Republic and the Resistance, but in his model, the bombardment drone with proximity mines is about almost 17% undercosted, and then you have Zam Wessel on the fire spray being almost 13% undercosted according to his model. Now, here's why should you care? Well, here's the reason. Really what it boils down to is that Bohan's model is what accurately predicted the rise of the Nantex. It's what led him to fly the Nantex, and then for the Nantex to become a menace. And whatever it is, while he is not hitting it on as well on the rest of the factions, when it comes to CIS, he is just nailing it. And I think that Zam Wessel with 3 proxy mine bombardment drones is going to be a list that is going to raise some eyebrows. I mean, we already know that Zam is good and how he's kitted out, but I think the bombardment drones with the proxy mines is going to throw some people off, especially with Count Dooku in the list, where you can get that clutch crit in whenever you want it. It's hard to protect on that. So those are the lists that I came up with, and these are the records. So we are 4-1 with this particular CIS list. Now, I have flown it. I did enjoy it. What I'm debating on right now is if I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, so to speak, and fly it in the next Gold Squadron tournament just to see what it does. Again, when it comes to online play, I am on average 2-4 player. So if I do fly it, and I'm flying a list that I expect to be better based on the modeling, then we should see my win percentage rise. Maybe. Unless, of course, I'm doing that wrong, which I will admit is fully possible. But it's interesting, to say the least. Now, here's a couple other things that I want to point out while we have this list up and we're looking at it. It doesn't include the latest squadron packs. And I'm really curious to see how those squadron packs affect this model overall and what we see. And especially now that we know that the points update won't be happening until sometime in the fall. And I really think that's going to change how we see this. I don't think TTS is going to be going away. I think that we'll start to see trying to think of the best analogy. My brain is just failing me terribly. I think what we'll see is we'll see in-person play start to pick up alongside TTS play, and then eventually we'll see in-person play as much or more than TTS. But I think what we're finding now is that there's a core group of people that are keeping this game alive via TTS, and I'm talking probably less than 500 people. And again, I'm just spitballing here on numbers. But I think it's important to recognize that TTS has been a vital part of keeping this game alive. All right. This is going to be a short podcast. Work has been just absolutely kicking my ass this week. And I haven't had as much time to prepare for this podcast as I wanted to. So we're going to keep this episode extremely short. As always, if you'd like to support the podcast, please consider leaving a review on however it is you consume it. And if you really like it, please consider becoming a patron. You can find us at patreon.com/saltminesxwing. If you'd like to reach out and chat, you can tweet me at saltxwing or send me an email at saltminesxwing@gmail.com, or you can reach me on the Discord server. I am on the Fly Betters, Gold Squadron, and a few other X-Wing servers at Sailor Joe V. And as you know, I like to end every podcast with a question, and for this podcast, I just want to ask, which one of these lists is your favorite, and which one do you think, with more data inputs, is going to be the clear winner according to the model? So, again, thank you for listening. This is Sailor Joe, signing off.
You're not alone.